Welcome back to the Rant, the best bowling show in the world. Because right now, every bowling talk show is the best show because we're not bowling. But I have a very special guest, the one and only Brian Graham, Vice President of Consumer and Aftermarket Products at Brunswick Bowling. Brian, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. It's great to be here.
Thank you for blessing me with your presence. I hear you do not interview a ton, so I hear this is a real treat for me.
I don't interview much. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of, I guess, a little bit more behind the scenes.
Okay, well, today you are front and center. Let's get started. So, first question, how did you get started in the bowling industry?
Actually, started bowling when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
So, my roots in bowling go pretty far back. My parents introduced me to bowling. I bowled as a youth bowler, competitive youth bowler. Then I went to college, bowled in college at Vincennes and Nebraska.
Okay.
So a lot of bowling experience. And then when I came out of Nebraska, started looking for job opportunities, wanted to be in the bowling industry. And I was at actually the USBC Masters,
Okay.
well, ABC Masters at the time, obviously, but way back then.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Wunderlich, who's a friend of mine, introduced me to Dave Bernhardt
Okay.
at Turbo Grips, and had a great conversation with Dave. And he's like, "Hey, we want to have you up for a visit. Why don't you come on up and visit us? Let's sit down and talk a little bit." And within a couple of weeks, I was up actually meeting with Lori and Dave. And shortly after that, they gave me my first start in the bowling industry. And I will always be grateful for them giving me my big opportunity to get started in the industry.
That's fantastic. Of course, everybody always needs help. Nobody can do it on their own. When I interviewed Phil Cardinelli, who you're very familiar with, he told me that he had signed you to your first amateur contract and also that he had taken you to overseas in on an overseas trip. What was that trip like?
That's pretty funny, actually, that Phil mentioned that. I mean, we're talking about going back 20 some years. It was, I think, 1997 or 1998, somewhere in there. I was a member of Team USA,
Okay.
and Phil said, "Hey, let's go overseas. Let's go over and do some business." I was at Turbo Grips at the time. So it was a way for me to get my feet wet. He took me to Korea,
Okay.
and we had multiple meetings. It was like these rapid fire meetings with a number of distributors in Korea. And then we were off to Taiwan.
Okay.
And, I mean, really talk about an eye-opening experience. We packed bowling balls with us,
Okay.
and we were in Taichung, Taiwan, and we went and we bowled.
Oh.
We did challenge matches with some local bowlers and pro shop operators, and we bowled against the spinner bowlers, helicopter
Mm-hmm.
style,
Yep. Yep.
hook bowlers, and we bowled a sweeper while we were over there. Uh, Really, it was a great experience, a lot of fun, and very eye-opening. For a young guy born and raised in the Midwest, to go overseas and be in Taiwan bowling, it was a pretty amazing experience.
Fantastic. Now, you were the director of collegiate bowling for the WIBC and the director for youth bowling at the USBC. Bowling has changed considerably since then. Do you feel like we're moving in the right direction?
I definitely think we're moving in the right direction. I think one of the biggest highlights today is high school bowling.
Mm-hmm.
The last few years I've gotten involved in the high school bowling up here in Michigan. My oldest daughter, she just is now finishing her junior year of high school, and she got involved in the high school team. I went out and I watched a little bit. Next thing you know, I had to talk to the head coach, say, "Hey, I can help you out a little bit here."
Mm-hmm.
And I got involved with the team. I started coaching as an assistant coach. And I see what the impact of high school bowling is here in Michigan. It's enormous. I mean, we've got almost 400 schools with competitive bowling programs here in Michigan. And to be a part of it, to see what's going on, the growth, the number of new faces to bowling that high school brings. The high school bowling platform is just incredible. Not to mention their parents, their family, their
Mm-hmm.
friends.
Mm-hmm.
I interact with the director of championships with MHSAA up here, Cody Inglis, and he shares a lot of the data with me, and we talk a little bit back and forth. Brunswick's a sponsor, which I love being a part of it as a sponsor, but also as a parent, as a coach, and to see that almost 15,000 people attend as
Wow.
spectators,
Wow.
in our postseason competition up here in Michigan. I mean, the bowling centers are packed, so much energy, a lot of excitement, and to me, that's exciting. Of course, collegiate bowling. I'm a product of collegiate bowling myself, but it's grown. It's in more schools. There are more scholarship opportunities. I mean, you look at scholastic, bowling. There are some great things happening. That's the part that I'm most excited about. Obviously, you can tell
Absolutely.
it's near and dear to my heart. There's no doubt about it. I really enjoy what's going on intercollegiate and of course high school bowling. That's great stuff. And for other bowlers that I've been around, through the years, get your kids involved. go and maybe do some volunteer work with your local high school or local college in order to help out and lend a hand and be a part of it. Because you talk about really recharging the batteries and feel good about what's happening. You go out there and experience high school bowling.
Absolutely, and they are the next generation of bowlers to come as they progress through those platforms. Now, okay, so you've spent 4 years as brand manager for Hammer and
Yes.
Robbie's. Most people don't know how special of an era that was. I mean, we're talking the Vibes, Black Widows. I'm looking at my notes here, the Diesel series and the Doom Core. Can you share with the viewers what it was like to be in such an exciting era?
Well, I was there at Hammer as Hammer brand manager from 2004 to 2008. It was special. One of the things that attracted me to the position, because I actually had to leave collegiate bowling, director of collegiate bowling, in order to go in the bowling ball business again. Bob Reed, he talked to me and said, "Hey, you can come in here, you can take risks, you can do some crazy stuff. There's no rules." And that sounds like a lot of fun.
Right.
So, I got in there and right from the get-go, we start with a Big Blue promotion. Many people remember the ad. They ended up getting banned. Kiss My Big Blue Balls. It was one that was controversial, but it was all about taking risk. And we did some stuff that was a little on the edge. Some thought it was over. We had a few complaint letters. That happens, but we were having a lot of fun. We were pushing the limits. From a marketing standpoint, doing some stuff that was a little different. The bowling industry hadn't seen, and we had a lot of fun doing stuff back then. Of course, you talk about successful balls, Black Widow and Vibes. I also love the Raw Hammer series. I thought it was fantastic for getting shelf space for the brand and getting familiar with, people being familiar with Hammer again. No Mercy was another risk that we took. It did pretty well for us. We took a lot of risks. I think that's the best thing. As I look back and see what happened to Hammer, we took some risk, and some of it really went very well. There was some other stuff, we took some risks, didn't work out okay.
Yep.
But it was fun. At the end of the day, it was a lot of fun, a lot of great relationships, of course, for me. It certainly was an amazing experience.
Absolutely, and some great memories. Now, you said the magic word. You said Black Widow, so we're going to talk about that. How do you go from the Big Blue to the Black Widow?
Well, it's Big Blue. That ball was done before I got there. It was Ed Gallagher and Ron Hicklin and Randy Teitloff and the folks at Ebonite that they had put that product together before I got there. So, when I first got there, I was throwing Big Blues. I was competitive bowler still, and those balls rolled really good for me, especially the solid. Okay. I remember having back-to-back 300s with a Big Blue one time in city tournament. They struck a lot. They rolled great on the fresh. The issue that I saw, they just didn't have quite enough differential.
Okay.
I didn't think the core was really strong enough to get in and go around the lane and make things happen, which during my competitive bowling days, I like to go left and chase it left. It was kind of how I felt comfortable. So we really started talking about what do we do to make the ball stronger. And, we added the higher differential, people call it pancake or, puck on the top of the core in order to increase the diff. And that's what really made that ball a lot stronger, more differential, stronger down lane. But we also did some great things with cover stock development down there at the time. And that's what made that ball come alive. I mean, everybody talks about cover stocks, really that's the deciding factor on ball motion.
Sure.
And that was a thing that really put Black Widow over the top. We developed a great cover stock. And then when I talk about it a lot, it's about a system. It's not just the core. It's not just the cover stock, not to finish. It's, when it comes to like creating emotional tie to bowling balls, it's more than just a product. A lot has to go into the ball name, the logo, the look, the kind of the overall aura and energy that ball creates. And then you start creating these deep emotional attachments.
Absolutely.
Bowlers get them. And that's what put Black Widow, obviously, I think, really over the top. And, it's funny, even, the last several years here at Hammer, I'd go overseas and do seminars, and I'd be in Japan or Korea. And of course, I don't speak the language. I don't understand what they're saying. And then all of a sudden you hear Black Widow. So they're still introducing me as Black Widow guy.
Right. Right.
Even after I'd been here at Brunswick for 6 or 7 years, they're still introducing me as that guy.
It may never go away. Now, give me your first reactions to these 3 words: gas mask core.
It's great to have it back. At least have access to it. It's been a priority, obviously, with the acquisition of Ebonite International.
Okay.
here at Brunswick. We start talking about, what did we acquire? We acquired the brands, we acquired the intellectual properties, which includes core designs and molds and cover stock formulations. And of course, right there at the top of the list is certainly Black Widow name, Black Widow, and really trying to bring that the whole mystique and the energy and aura around that ball. And gas mask core, yes, it's
So,
we're
so,
looking at it.
my buddy, I think it was Don Yoshihara was telling me that you would go to at Bowl Expo, go to the Ebonite booth, and then say, "Hey guys, how's my core doing?" Is that true?
Yeah, it's there could be some truth to that. Bobby Bruss has continued to run the booth through the years, and Bobby's an amazing guy. I love Bobby. I worked with him obviously in my Hammer days, and now I get the opportunity to work with him again here. But yeah, I'd stop in and see Bobby, and we'd see the Black Widow ball on the wall, and it's continued. It's amazing. The vibe has continued. You see those types of nameplates that have really had long staying power in the industry, and it goes back to just amazing loyalty among the Hammer consumers, those Hammer bowlers.
Absolutely.
They're really, really loyal consumers. And for them, it's about the brand, it's about the bowling balls, and there's a sense of pride that they have in using those products. So it's good to have, obviously, gas mask core, and it's great to have Hammer back, and I'm really excited about this.
So this is probably one of the biggest questions I was looking forward to asking you. There's been a lot of talk since this happening about taking two of the best technologies and marrying them up. So Dynamicore, Black Widow. Could this marriage of technologies actually happen?
That's a good idea. It's a good idea. I think there's a chance that happens one of these days.
Because I'll be the first one in line to get one, because I love my Black Widow, and I love everything that I have that's Dynamicore, because I have like maybe a -50 rev rate. So anything I can get to help me kick out as a casual bowler, and there's a ton of league bowlers out there who are behind me who want this to happen. And if you can make something like that happen, I mean, that's like what, the cheater ball?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I'll talk to our really smart guys. I'll talk to their engineers and our R&D folks. Make sure we can look and make it happen.
Okay. Now, you've been credited with some of the most influential cores. Obviously, gas mask core. I talk about this before I interviewed you. I've talked about this on several of my ball reviews, because there's a very specific motion. There's something very, very unique about the gas mask core. But what about the other cores that you've made, like the vibe cores and other cores? What other cores have you invented?
Well, I look at it, and I mentioned it just a little while ago. I look at the bowling balls more of a system. So, like for myself, I'm not really necessarily a core designer.
Okay.
We have really, really smart guys that handle that stuff. I mean, they're really sharp. They're very innovative. I look at though as again at the system side of things of what kind of motion does it produce.
Okay.
We test hundreds of bowling balls a year. I watch bowling balls go down the lane all the time.
Okay.
And every once in a while, you just see bowling balls go down the lane. You're like, those balls are pretty freaking special.
Nice.
And so, obviously, Black Widow, I remember that ball test. I remember being there with Hickland in Chicago when we did that test and running around at multiple bowling centers. And we knew we had something good.
Okay.
And then you put it together with the name, the logo, what was going on in the industry at the time, and it got a big following in a hurry. And we see some balls. Obviously, I've seen some balls get melee jab.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a ball, obviously, here at Brunswick that has been one that's had some staying power. People really love. I actually think that the Jab SE is even better than the original. They're great bowling balls, and you see those types of bowling balls, and you're like, we got to make room. You
have a special one with the uppercut, by the way. I don't know one person who has ever complained about the uppercut or the Prism Hybrid. I mean, those are some pieces that you should consider keeping around, because the nameplates, the marketing, the stuff, it looks fantastic. Okay, so let's switch gears for a second. After your time with the USBC, you joined Brunswick as Senior Director of Consumer Products, and Deviate was created. How can you talk about that process and how you guys selected the nameplate Deviate?
Well, Deviate, it's an interesting story, actually. More than just the name of the brand. In 2010, that's when I was at USBC, and I was overseeing youth bowling there at USBC. I got a call from Nick Stickler, who was at Brunswick at the time, and I'd never met Nick. I'd heard great things about him. We met for breakfast, sat down and talked a little bit, and he's like, we really want you. Why don't you come up here and be a part of what we got going on in consumer products? We got some great things happening. And I need you to come in and create and launch a new brand of bowling balls. And I was kind of taken back a little surprised. So we got everything worked out, and I was able to come on board in August of 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came here, he made it very clear: new brand, figure it out. And Nick wasn't a bowler. He's just, again, really smart guy. Was in the right place at the right time as far as making things happen here at Brunswick.
Okay.
And so we started doing a lot of research. Let's talk to the R&D team. What do we have available? What are the goodies? What do we have for cover stock and core design? What can we do to push the limits a bit? And it all really became about pushing the limits, especially here at Brunswick.
Okay.
At the time, Brunswick corporate, they were not real big risk takers, very conservative, very traditional. And I thought what was important for the new brand was to do something different. We need to do something crazy different from what Brunswick had done in order to really expand the customer base. And so we did a lot of research, really looking at, again, at the products, but we started looking at a lot of names. What could we name this new brand? What do we do? And we got feedback from our salespeople and, people in our marketing department, advertising agency. And one of the names that came through was from Nick Smith. And he had mentioned Deviate. And I was like, how do we make that work? How do we make it work? And we worked with our advertising agency at the time, came up with a great logo.
Mm-hmm.
Damn good bowling.
Damn good bowling.
The whole thing. I mean, all of a sudden, all these pieces started to come together and put the puzzle together. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, this is quite a bit different than Brunswick, and this is starting to feel good.
Yeah, that
and
edgy
so the
feel.
whole concept, and again, you start when you're around it and you start seeing it come together with products and the names and the whole edgy feel with the marketing and what we were doing to do something very different from Brunswick. We were certainly deviating from the norm here at Brunswick. And that's where it all started. It starts to make sense and it starts to tell a story. And I thought, like, this is going to happen and it's going to be exciting. The real interesting thing I thought really on Deviate, in 2011, when we launched the brand, we didn't launch a Bowl Expo.
Interesting.
A Bowl Expo came and went, and we kept it secret inside. Nobody knew what was going on. We launched it at Junior Gold.
Oh my!
Because that was our prime. We thought core audience was younger consumer, aggressive, serious, competitive bowlers. When we launched it at Junior Gold, and nobody knew what it was. Okay. And we had a lot of fun. And again, I go back to, we're coming up on, we're a year away, obviously, from 10 years now being in existence. Deviate's been around for quite a while, and it's been a fun project too.
Okay, fantastic. I definitely enjoyed the Grudge Pearl and the Freak Show. I liked both the Freak Show and the Freak Show Flip. I didn't get to throw the solid, but those were phenomenal products. Okay, we're going to play a game of favorites. What is your favorite Brunswick ball of all time?
Of all time, I would go old school LT48.
Got one on my shelf, special edition.
And I'll tell you, the reason I say that is because it was my first hook ball. It was the first ball that I really could hook.
Okay.
And I remember, watching professional bowling as a kid, and I know some of them had weight holes, so I remember going and getting a weight hole put in the side of my LT48, make sure it hook a little bit more. So,
all right.
But LT48 old school. If you had to go, like, most recently though, since my, I'll be 10 years now.
Okay.
Here at Brunswick this year, melee jab.
The original or the SC? Or the uppercut?
Emotionally, I say the original melee jab.
Okay. Yep.
In real world performance, I guess real world though, I'd say the SE. I think the SE is just amazing.
Yeah, the finish you guys did on that 500 1000 compound, that is a phenomenal finish. Mm-hmm. Okay, what about favorite Deviate ball of all time?
Again, I'll go emotional. I'll say Hellraiser.
Hellraiser. You got a lot of people who want that to come back. By the way, I saw the post on which ball should we bring back. A lot of people are wanting that back.
There again, I say it for emotional reasons. That ball it created a lot of controversy. People, it just stirred things up, and again, it made it more of a fun project. The ball rolled good.
Yep.
The Revenge was the better ball for me as far as online performance, but original Hellraiser, because they're like, what are you doing? Okay. That's good.
Favorite Radical ball of all time?
I'd say Guru.
Yeah.
Guru. Yeah, Guru. I still think Guru is the ball that really started making Radical more relevant in the bowling world. I think that's the ball that bowlers started taking Radical more serious. It just wasn't a, kind of a niche brand. All of a sudden it's like become a little bit more mainstream, and that was a ball that got radical on a lot of pro shop shelves.
You're also, I'm not going to lie, you're Guru Supreme. I've got a buddy of mine. He can't buy enough of them. He's always looking at that 2 a.m. time slot on eBay to grab them because that bowl's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, now I ask this question of everybody. It's a Chris Beans thing because Chris Beans is a foodie. What is Brian Graham's favorite food?
I travel a lot, obviously, for work. I would say Korean barbecue.
Oh, there's an original.
I really love Korean barbecue, especially there in Korea.
Okay.
I've not been able to find really anything like it here in the U.S., but bulgogi, which is their marinated meat, and then with kimchi, all this Korean barbecue is pretty amazing. If you haven't had it,
oh, I've had my best friend's a Korean chef, so if you ever come down to Tampa, Florida, I'll be happy to take you somewhere to get some good Korean barbecue.
That's fantastic. That's my favorite.
All right. Okay, let's switch gears again. What is it like to be vice president in your position at Brunswick Bowling?
Well, really for me, at the end of the day, I'm a bowler, and I have a really cool job.
Okay.
I can't describe it really any other way than I've got a great job, amazing job. It's a lot of fun. But I think the thing that really stands out for me is the number of amazing people that I get to work with.
Okay.
We have a great team of folks, and especially with the most recent acquisition, Ebonite, the additional people we were able to bring on and join our team here, that makes it special. And I think at the heart of it, it has a lot to do with the teamwork and the team atmosphere that we have. And again, we have great people doing great things. That's a lot of fun to be around.
That's fantastic. Plus, you get to see everything before anybody knows about it.
Yeah. And we have a lot of people, we have guests that'll come in and visit us here at Brunswick, here in Muskegon. We bring them in the office and we give them a tour. And most people are like, oh, I didn't realize how big this place was. And it's a big facility. And we have a couple bowling centers inside of our building, a couple different bowling centers. And of course, you see in our videos, you'll see what we call a studio, the 6-lane house.
Yep.
And that's really nice and showcase. But we've got some other stuff kind of behind the scenes. It's pretty cool too.
It's my understanding you guys have a whole corporate campus up there.
Yes, it's large.
That's fantastic.
It's large.
Okay. Did you still have time to bowl prior to the lockdown?
Well, I haven't bowled competitively for the last couple of years. Life's busy between work, and I've got 3 daughters, ages 17, 14, and 10. And my 2 oldest daughters are active in sports. So we're at softball games and volleyball games and things like that. And then with my oldest daughter in high school bowling, I still spend a lot of time in the bowling center, but it's coaching and passing on, that information and helping others to get better. So I'm in the bowling center plenty, just not as a competitive bowler these days.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And with Bowl Expo canceled, are we still going to see a slew of releases around the summertime? Because that's usually when you guys come out with some of your best stuff.
Yeah, obviously with things going on right now, I wouldn't call it a slew. We have 7 brands now, so there's going to be some ball launches, but it's going to be reduced from what those 7 brands launched a year ago for sure.
Okay.
Our timelines are probably going to look a little different too, because there is no Bowl Expo this year.
Right.
We're going to go on distributor trade shows. Hopefully those are able to happen.
Absolutely.
And again, we're optimistic that the bowling season gets started on time, here around Labor Day. So everything's kind of ramping up towards then, but we're going to have some products. There's no doubt. All 7 brands are going to have a couple new balls, and we're going to bring some really good stuff to market.
That's fantastic, and probably really reassuring because a lot of people like your summer releases. So here's a question: you've been in the bowling business obviously for a long time. You see product creation through its entire life cycle. What do you think is going to be the next big thing in terms of bowling ball products?
Bowling ball technology.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think you'll continue to see cover stock advancements.
Okay.
You see some of the stuff that USBC has had going on the last few years with changing some of the specifications with oil absorption, doing some things most recently with some of the hardness, proposals.
Yep.
But I think you'll continue to see the manufacturers evolve with cover stock technology. I think that's going to happen. I think some of the stuff that Mo and Phil have done, Mo really pushes the envelope on the specifications of a drill bowling ball. And so his core designs are getting a little bit certainly more intricate in what's happening. They're taking these new specifications into account with now eliminating weight holes. So, that's really cool stuff and very techie type technology stuff. But I really do think for the majority of our products, what consumers are going to like to see is going to be our development of cover stock.
Sure.
Maybe some aesthetic stuff like colors, color patterns. We're working on some cool stuff there too. But I think you'll see it on the cover stock side.
Okay.
Ball performance on cover stock side.
And you guys have already done some of that textured pearl, pretty much like your particulates, which, by the way, everybody that I know at the house league level loves that stuff. I personally would love to see a particulate melee jab solid with dynamic core. I mean, I think you would just see a bunch of people just ruining people's day and making a lot of cash. So I'm going to put that request in right now.
Very good thought. Very good thought.
Oh yeah. I mean, a low RG, jab core, 2487048 differential, because I memorize all your guys' numbers. I think you got a place for that ball. Okay. So what's the first thing you're going to do after the lockdown?
I'm actually going to take my family bowling.
Okay.
I'm a bowler at heart. My daughter bowls. She's, as a competitive player, she's going to be in her senior year of high school. She wants to bowl in college one day. So we're going to go bowling. I think it's important to jump right back in and support the bowling industry. We're going to support our local bowling centers here in the Muskegon area. I've got a lot of good friends that work in these bowling centers and around them. So we're going bowling.
Okay. Fair enough.
And we may not just bowl in one center that day. We may go bowl in a couple of different centers. So
absolutely, get the arm tired.
I think it's important to get back out there on the lanes when it's safe.
Yep.
And the bowling centers are prepared and everything's ready to go. I think it's important. And I'm one thing I ask bowlers, let's do what we can to support our bowling centers and support our pro shops.
Absolutely. Yep. Now, before I ask you the last question, I'm going to tell you my favorite ball you guys ever made, which was the Danger Zone Special Edition Black Ice. I hope that you guys would consider bringing that back, slap dynamic core in there with that big, juicy, oversized weight block. Your PK 2016 cover was phenomenal.
Sounds like you put a little bit of thought into this.
Absolutely, because I'm going to buy a case of them if you do it. Okay.
Good thought.
Thoughts on the future of Brunswick?
Well, I go back to, the folks that we were able to bring on board to strengthen our team for Ebonite.
Okay.
Amazing people. And we've got a lot of talent, and we're going to make some great things happen. We're going to integrate these 4 new brands for us. We're going to develop with our research and development, amazing, I think, bowling ball technology. We have a lot of emphasis going on in R&D right now. And Ray Edwards and Randy Teitloff are leading the charge for us. They're, I think, a couple of the smartest guys in the bowling industry. Okay. They're incredible. They're fun to be around. But I think they're going to give us something special. And I think we're going to be able to execute. We'll be in a right position where we can execute and really, push this thing forward. I think Brunswick's in a good place to be successful going forward. I think that, obviously, as we're all hoping, let's get through this pandemic. Let's get through this situation. And hopefully we can get people back out in the lane safely and having fun bowling again.
Absolutely. And of course, last question, thoughts on the future of Brian Graham?
I'm happy. This is the longest I've ever been in any one company. It'll be 10 years here come August. 10 years of Brunswick's just amazing to me. I think if you'd asked me 20 some years ago, or, hey, you want to work at Brunswick, or, I don't know. I didn't really know a whole lot about Brunswick, but as I've been here and been around the people and understand how things really function and how everybody comes together for amazing teamwork, I love where I'm at. I love what I'm doing. I love the fact that I'm in the bowling business. I could never imagine doing anything else.
Okay.
For me, how do I give back to bowling? How do I pass on, the tradition of bowling to future generations? And that I'm starting with my kids, my 3 girls. How do I pass it on to them? And I am amazingly thankful and grateful of what bowling's given to me through my life, and I'm just thrilled to still be a part of today. So
phenomenal. Brian, it has been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for blessing me with your presence.
You're very welcome. I enjoy sitting around talking bowling, so it's great to be a part of this. Thank you.
Bowlers, as always, more updates to come.